Hey you guys, it's Peter, and welcome to my channel, Peterisms, where I tell stories of my life and just little things that I have learned as I have grown into the person that I am today. And I had just ordered some new meditation books. I was hoping that they would be here today in time for this video, but the books that I actually got instead were two new Melody Beatty books that I bought. One is about grief. The other one is called A Soul Kit. So I'm going to look at them tonight, and then I'm going to present them to you like a presentation, either tomorrow or Wednesday, maybe Thursday. I forgot I have a dental appointment on Wednesday. Either tomorrow or Thursday, I'll present them to you. And one of them, the one that's called the Soul Kit one, I can't remember what the main title of it, but it's actually, I think, a project that we could do over here together. So I want to look at them tonight and kind of see a little bit more about them. So today we are going to go back to the old and true Melody Beatty books that I love so much, The Language of Letting Go and Journey to the Heart. And we're going to get in and read a meditation. Are you guys ready? Okay, let's see what the last couple days were saying to us since the 1st of February has started. All right, let's see. Creaky Halloween door. If you guys watch my vlog, my mom used to always go, creaky Halloween door. February 1st, step 2. February 2nd, trusting our higher power. February 3rd, rejecting shame. That might be a really, really good one. And then Journey to the Heart by Melody Beatty, obviously. I don't know why I said that. I've read this book so many times on here. Okay. February 1st, transcend your limitations. Ooh, I like that one. February 2nd, cherish today's lessons. And February 3rd, break through your resistance. You know what? I actually want to read Break Through Your Resistance. Let's read that one. February 3rd. We sometimes resist new lessons. And what we resist the most is likely to be what we need to learn. Or what we most need to learn. Our lessons usually come with inner conflict. The action we should be taking, the idea we should be learning, is sometimes hidden behind a wall of resistance. There's a border, a barrier we need to cross to get into the heart of the lesson. Most times, that barrier is within us. Lessons require us to let go of old feelings, old beliefs. If they didn't, they wouldn't be lessons. We'd already know them. Sometimes, I love that, we'd already know them if they weren't lessons. Sometimes the very thing we feel guiltiest about doing, the place we're most resistant to visiting, the person we're most convinced we shouldn't contact, or the behavior we're tormenting ourselves most about, is exactly what we need to be doing. And more often than not, the lesson we're learning is not what we think it is. We need to embrace the surprise element of life. Embrace the mystery of life as it unfolds, as the lessons appear, as we grow and change. Do what you need to do to break through your resistance. Often that means simply seeing your resistance, is there more to it? For what it is. Remember that the point of interest, the point of greatest resistance is often the place of greatest learning. I like this meditation. I think it's something that, but there's a part of it that I don't necessarily 100% agree with. Which is always interesting when I read one of her meditations. You know, this very rarely happens, where it's like, there's something about her meditation that I don't 100% agree with. But I like the sentiment behind it, because it's something that I think has been an ongoing struggle for me my entire life. That, you know, I will be in an arena of my life where I'm very uncomfortable, and then I work through it, and I find comfort, which to me equals safety. And sometimes that can be like a routine. It can be like getting up at this time, doing this, doing this, doing this. You know, it can be a routine. I'm somebody that is very strict to routines. I think we know that. Even like, I have the craziest sleep schedule in the entire world, but it works for me, and it's my routine, kind of, you know. Do this on this day, cousin fun day on Wednesdays, you know, do this, do that, do whatever, you know. And so, brunch on Sunday. We typically go to the same place on brunch on Sunday, watch the same shows. A couple years ago, I was like, I want to start trying new things. This is actually one of my goals for 2025. One of my specific goals is to try new things that other people like, that friends of mine like, just to experience new things about the world, because I am such a creature of comfort that I get used to doing the same things, eating the same foods, always doing the same things over and over and over again. My friend Tanya actually used to laugh at me. She'd say, like, once you get on something like Subway, you like eat Subway for the next 3 months, and that's like all you eat. And then you're just one day you're done with Subway, and then you move on to, you know, lean cuisines or something. And that is very much who I am. And so, like, this year specifically, I'm trying to, like, be more spontaneous, try things that I've never tried before, and whatever. That's not necessarily what this meditation is talking about. This meditation is talking about when we have certain belief systems, refusing to see outside of our belief systems. I think in life, I'm trying to look at that. When I was afraid to see outside of my own belief system, often it was because I was scared, in all honesty. Often it was because maybe if I saw outside of it or listened to somebody else's point of view, it might challenge something that I believe so strongly. It might challenge something that I believed so much to be true. And I'm going to use an example of this related to recovery. So, I got sober by way of a 12-step program. A 12-step program has worked for me. I mean, it didn't work the 4 times before I started actively working a 12-step program, but it has worked for me. When I got sober, there weren't a lot of alternatives to working a 12-step program. I mean, any treatment program that you would go to in the early 1990s, they would basically tell you that sobriety meant, it kind of equaled the 12-step. You knew that. You knew if you went to treatment, they were going to recommend you go to meetings, right? Today, there are so many different ways to get sober. I think when I started hearing about those ways years ago. I mean, and there's been phases of it. There's been, there's been this, there's been that, there's been, different things, different maintenance drugs, there's been different philosophies of sobriety, there's been California sober, there's been all these things. I actually get asked a lot about it on my videos. People be like, well, what do you think about California sober? What do you think about this? I don't know about those things. What I know is I work a 12-step program and it works for me. I think when those things started coming around, it started challenging, I think there were different points of view, and so it started challenging, well, is a 12-step program the only way to get sober? And absolutely not. It's not the only way to get sober. There's many different ways to get sober, defined by every individual. Every person that works a 12-step program is not going to work it the same way. I'm not a representative of a 12-step program. I'm just sharing my experience, strength, and hope. I'm just one person that happens to be sober by way of a 12-step program. So everybody's experience in a 12-step program is going to be completely different, But I think when I started seeing these things come around, I was like, ooh, change is scary to me. I've been somebody that never really liked change, And now I kind of try to lean into it, embrace it, because I believe that change is inevitable. But, I talked about this in a video the other day where I was talking about, on one of my channels, I think it was my vlog, where I was talking about the introduction of maintenance drugs like Suboxone. I think it threatened a lot of people's ideas of what sobriety looked like, And I think that, I don't know, I didn't necessarily feel the way that other people felt in 12-step programs when maintenance drugs started coming around, and abuse had been around forever. But I think it's that idea, right? That there's only one way and this is the only way to do it. And so it's the idea of seeing things from different perspectives. It's a paradigm shift is really what it is. And I remember years ago, I'd seen the movie before, but being in when somebody explained to me what a paradigm shift is, it's what a complete change of thinking or a perspective change. I had a professor that showed us the movie Dead Poets Society, which I'd already seen, and explained to us what a perspective change means. And if you watch that movie at the beginning of it, Robin Williams plays this professor at this boys' boarding school, and he has all the kids at the end of the first day of class get up on the desk and look at the classroom from standing on the desk. And it's a different point of view because they're always sitting at their desk they're not standing on the desk. And so he's saying these things to them. This one kid, I think it's Ethan Hawke that plays it, he's looking around, and you can see that inside of him, he sees the room in a way that he's never seen the room before. Well, how wonderful would that be if we were able to stand on a desk and look at the world in a completely different way, And what's interesting is through the years, I think I've been challenged to do that. 12-step program is just one way, that I looked at and I thought, or maybe it's that it's not so strict of a way of thinking. Maybe there's lots of different ways to get sober, and it's really not about the way you do it. Maybe it's just that people are staying sober. Completely changed my perspective and my thinking on things. That I just want people to stay alive today. I want people to have amazing lives, no matter how they choose to stay sober. It's none of my business how somebody else chooses to stay sober. Just like it's nobody else's business how I choose to stay sober, It's an individual idea. But when you go from something like that and then you look at the world and you start listening to different people that have a different life experience than you, okay? Because of their background, because of the color of their skin, because of where they grew up or where they were born, if they were even born in the United States or another country, how old they are, what era did they grow up in? What era how old are they now, What's their sexuality? What's their gender? Asking all these people their perspectives is standing on the desk and looking at life from a different point of view. It's giving us all a different perspective by just simply asking somebody about stories of their life. It's why I love to hear people tell stories. It's why I love to read books. It's why I love to watch movies and documentaries, because I learn so much more about the world than I ever knew before, It's one of the reasons why I love the saying, remain teachable, because when we think that we know everything, everything, when we think that we know every person on this planet's experience, we have stopped learning, right? Or when, and I think that often not caring about other people's experiences translates to thinking you know everything about their experiences. Because when you lack sympathy or you lack empathy for what somebody else's experience is or what they might be going through, what that really looks like is, I know better. My entitlement allows me to think that my worldview or my experience is better, even though it's different from yours. It's better. It's a better, worse thing, right? And when we're telling people, and right now in this world, we're living in a world where people are telling everybody what is right and what is wrong, but you're telling somebody about their lived experience, you know? You're telling somebody about their lived experience. You disagree with me on my opinion, disagree with me on what song I like, disagree with me, but you can't take away my lived experience, you know? Even if you say, well, that song's a shit song, that song might be a shit song to you, but it might be a great song to me. It might be my favorite song in my entire life, and I don't have to explain that to you. It might just be a song I like, or a favorite movie that I like, or a book I like, you know? But when we're talking about outside of books, movies, and songs, when we're talking about life experience, I think to dismiss or not listen to somebody's life experiences to refuse to stand on the desk. And I think that that for me is where I had to get to in life, is I had to get to the point because I had been ignorant. I hadn't been willing to listen to other people's stories. Even though I had been raised to be that way, I had to say, you need to get on the desk and look at the world in a different perspective. You need to look at the classroom in a different way because you're being taught something in this moment and you're refusing to look at it, you know? And it was powerful to me. It was powerful to me to start hearing different people's stories. And what I realized, right, was that just because somebody grew up in, let's say if you talk to two people that grew up in Maine, both of those people are not going to have the same experience. Just because you talk to two women about their experiences with dating doesn't mean that both women are going to have the same perspective on dating. You know, just because you talk to two gay men about their perspectives on what they think about marriage, I can tell you there's a lot of gay men that'll say, I'll never get married. There's a lot of gay men that'll say, it means everything in the world to me. So just because you talk to one person from a different background than you doesn't mean that you're getting the whole story. Each person's story is unique. Each person's story is valuable. Your story is valuable. I think many times we minimize and we reduce our stories and the importance of our stories because we think, who am I? I just sit on a front porch and talk to my neighbors. I grocery shop at Walmart. I watch TV shows. My story is not that important. The hell it isn't. Your story is vital to the world's story. And I love this meditation. The one part I wanted to say that I disagree a little bit with it in here is, let me get to the part about resistance, is when she says, sometimes the very thing we feel guiltiest about doing, the place we're most resistant to visiting, the person we're most convinced we shouldn't contact, or the behavior we're tormenting ourselves most about is exactly what we need to be doing. I don't know about that. I will say this, that I think that has led me into a trap before of where my best friend calls it whitey dial-up pain, where I would be like, you know what, like, I set boundaries and limits with this person, but I really miss this person. Like, I want to reach out to them again. And then I reached out to them and the red flags were all there, but I romanticized the past and I thought, no, I'm going to reach out to them again. And then I was burnt again. That happened to me enough times in life. What was the other thing that she said in here? Or the behavior we're tormenting ourselves most about is exactly what we need to be doing. No, not necessarily, you know. That's kind of a little bit how OCD works in my head. I don't need to be doing that. I think the other thing about, I think for me, I have to be willing to see a different perspective and listen to somebody else's point of view. But I think it's also important that I listen to my own voice inside my head when it comes to setting limits and boundaries. I don't know that I think that being less resistant means I allow toxic people into my life. I don't know that being less resistant to seeing different perspectives about the world or different people means that I go places that are unsafe or uncomfortable for me, or put myself around people that are unsafe or uncomfortable for me. I don't think that that's true. I think boundaries are important. And I don't think that that's really what she meant to say here, but that's how it read to me. So I just wanted to clear that up in case anybody else got that the same way. But other than that, I love this meditation. So with that being said, I hear my husband coming. He came in downstairs, so I'm going to go say hi to him. I love you guys, and I will see you tomorrow.